what's up, sports fans? Welcome back to another episode of Sports, of Course, with Jonah and RPF. We are diving into the NFL playoffs. Face first, we had a huge wild card, super wild. They've now dubbed it Super Wild Card Weekend, which I think is new. Are they trying to get more?
It wasn't so super. No.
It was not so super at all. But we'll get into that. Before we do, real quick, you can listen to us everywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Podbean. You can also find us socially on Instagram and X, as well as our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms and in the search bar, type in Sports, of Course, with Jonah and RPF, and we'll pop right up for your listening pleasure. And of course, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Okay, RPF, my friend, before we dive into the not so super wild card weekend, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I mean, we're recording this a couple of days later than usual, so it gave me time to kind of like decompress from my impressive yoga pretzeling, like internal body organs from the Dolphins performance. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm getting over a pretty nasty sinus infection, so if I do sound a little stuffy, I apologize. And if I do have to cough, I will try my best to mute before I do.
You do sound like a little bit like Stevie Wonder, you know.
Isn't
cool. She lovely?
All right, I'll take it. I'll take that.
You know, you could wear like Joan Rivers used to say, you could wear a flower pot on your head. You know?
All right, let's get into it. RPF,
yep.
we had 6 games over the weekend, and
let's go in order for fun.
I was going to say, with the exception of one of them, every single one of them was, for all intents and purposes, a blowout, but within those blowouts, there were some pretty big surprises on my end.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah.
Let's start with the first one, because I think that was maybe the biggest surprise to me, was the Texans, not 25, the Texans 45 over the Browns 14. I did not. Yeah, I thought it'd be a good game. I think if we go back to the last episode, I think we both picked the Browns to win. I just thought CJ Stroud, rookie quarterback, rookie coach, rookie everything, going into the playoffs, I didn't think they'd hold up to a stout defense and a veteran quarterback. And not only did they do that, they said, "Screw you guys. We'll hold my beer."
Yeah, totally. Someone has to do like CJ Stroud's probably like this like Mission Impossible mask of like Patrick Mahomes' kid brother that no one knew he had. I mean, it's literally, rookie what? Remove that adjective from his stat sheet. Oh my God, he was as poised as Elway in his last year. You know, it was just something to watch.
And it was really fun to watch. It was really fun to watch. Even though the game became a snooze fest because they were blowing them out so much, I was like, give me more, score more touchdowns. Like, this is amazing.
He did. You know, it was like 34-7 or something. He's like, okay, let me do a deep post just for fun. It was like, anyway, but yeah, he was. Honestly, as a Dolphin fan, of course, he reminded me of not in any way, but besides the actual just brazenness and confidence of a Dan Marino his first year when he blew up the league. It's something to behold. I mean, he's legit. I mean, you know how lucky the Texans are? They just stumbled upon a franchise quarterback like this. I mean, incredible. I mean, was anyone even was he on anyone's radar, including the Texans, before the season? I don't know, man. It was very impressive. And Flacco, he did what he could, but ultimately, this is a great story to tell the kids. He had a good run.
Right.
Now,
and then
back to mowing the lawn.
Yeah. And it's almost like, you almost want to say, it's for each team. Oh, so gosh, what happens to the Browns next? But you know what? It's the Browns. No one really cares.
Well, they care. And Cleveland, in Northern Ohio care. But yeah, you feel bad for the dog pound and stuff. But they talk about overachieving. They were really impressive. They're a Cinderella team. The coach did an impressive job to fight 4 or 5 different quarterbacks. There's nothing to say. But, they did such a good job that we both said they might squeak out a victory here because they were at home. They weren't at home, but Flacco was more experienced, and it's a blowout. But it's I would hold my head up high if I'm a Browns fan this year,
Yeah.
and exciting stuff coming up. They just need to get their people healthy, right? Like everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the other side of the game, the Texans, I mean, what this does for the Texans, I mean, what are your thoughts now with them going to go up against the Ravens? Like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh,
it's almost
man.
like, you know what? It's almost like a pick 'em, because I'll tell you this. I did a quick thing on it, and I couldn't find it exactly, but teams that rest 3 weeks, essentially,
Yeah.
they rested 3
Right.
weeks.
Right.
They don't have a great record coming out.
Yeah.
It's almost like a 500 type of record. The Ravens, remember, they took up until week 11 for me
Yeah.
and you to start really saying, are they real? You know,
Yeah.
because
that's true.
You know, so they're a slow burn, and they never done well in playoffs, as you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think one win.
CJ
Lamar Jackson has one playoff win, I think.
One playoff win, yeah, which is yeah.
And
I take it right now.
And and the Texans, I mean, the Texans are, as we stated already, are have guns blazing. And the scary thing about them is they have absolutely nothing to lose. They're going up against the number 1 seed. They're not like, no one expected them to be here, so they're playing stress free.
You see the NFL films thing. You know, this is the right coach and the right quarterback and the right team, and they don't know they're not supposed to. They don't even. They're not aware they're not supposed to be winning games like this. It's fun to watch. You know, it's
very fun.
I think this is going to be a very fun game to watch. I mean, Lamar has to carry his team again, which you know he's done a lot. But I think I don't know if CJ and Lamar are both on, popcorn time. It's going to be fun. You know.
Yeah. All right, let's move along. Unfortunately, chronologically speaking, RPF, the next one on the docket is the Chiefs against your Dolphins.
You mean the rescheduled Frozen Taylor Swift concert? Yes, that had a game somewhere in between for entertainment for the boyfriends. Yes, the Dolphins. I will say this. I'll start with a positive. One major positive and one small
compliment
positive.
Sandwich.
And then in the middle, it's like a whole
just a shitstorm.
Okay. Your word, baby. I'll say for the small compliment was when I watched the game in a daze, and I don't even know why. Again, in the dark room, it's been my theme this past month. It's like very ominous. I mean, in a dark room by myself, my cat's on top of me, like $1 million, type of, Google it, kids reference. Anyway, I'm sitting there, and it's 10-0 the Chiefs, and it could have been 21-0.
Yeah.
If not for Travis Kelce's drop passes and everyone else. And I'm thinking, okay, all of a sudden, Tua underthrows a deep route. Cheetah adjusts, jukes out the defender, scores a touchdown, 10-7. And for the first time, I think in my life, I really didn't believe it. I said, this isn't going anywhere. This is not. The reason, and I'll tell you why. And I'm a Dolphins diehard. I'm an optimist. Ultimately, I think, as you know, I pick the Dolphins every year to win Super Bowl. So, I think that moment, I just realized, and I knew watching enough of the game that the entire defense was a makeshift. It was Jalen Ramsey and his cousins.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
It was literally. Hang on. One thing I'll say.
It was
literally preposterous. Mahomes and Fangio had no good options. Which is our defensive coordinator. The only options he had, he said, "Let me rush and blitz this guy. At least create." He can't have Mahomes sitting in the pocket for 10 minutes picking us apart. So he has to create something. So he had. So we blitzed 35% more than we did the entire year. Because why? We don't have Jalen Phillips. He's hurt. We don't have Bradley Chubb. We don't have Ben Ginkle. We don't have anybody up front.
Yeah.
Literally anybody up front. So it was like these ragtag DEs from 2015. So anyway, I knew for a fact that alone, the game could have easily been 42-10 or something, or 7 or whatever it was. So and it wasn't. So that's why I kind of let that go. Anyway, but the other interesting thing, which is I was curious about, just as a business-minded person that I am, I was wondering about this peak. This was the only game ever in the history of football to be able to be on a playoff game and not be over free broadcast. It's a Peacock streaming service exclusive.
Right.
So I was curious to see. Because remember, just last week we talked about how 96 or 97 of the top 100 viewed programs in 2023 were football games. I mean, I'm still not over that statistic. I mean, it's just insanity. I mean, literally insane. I mean, really, the Bears at Tampa Bay Buccaneers is more popular than the last episode of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I mean, honestly, it's like the Carolina Panthers at anyone.
Anyone.
Anyway, so the Dolphins game, the Dolphins-Chiefs wildcard game, set the record for the most watched event on any streaming service in the world ever. I'll say it again. The Dolphins-Chiefs NFL wildcard playoff game set the record for the most watched event on any streaming service ever, with 23 million.
Yeah.
I would say a good 15 is football, maybe 8 Taylor Nation.
Probably.
Probably. Right? You see the end of the game when she's like, yeah. I couldn't hate her for it. It was party time for them. Look, lots of time to talk about all this. I'm sure just the headline. The predictable. This is Tua's 5th year. Sign him or leave him year. He's the last quarterback of that bunch of his class that hasn't been given. That he hasn't been paid the $40 million contract. We're going to pay him because quarterbacks don't grow on trees.
Yep.
He knows the system. He's getting better. And for all the fans that are like screaming, get Teddy Bridgewater back, or whatever the hell they think we're going to get, just shut the fuck up. He's our quarterback. I mean, we've invested. We brought a coach over.
Very well said.
We brought a coach over just to do this trip. Save the fact, and I know it's even early our first podcast of the season we said let's put that asterisk. Every team gets hurt, save injury, but
right.
With all due, I mean,
right.
The Jets weren't the Jets because of Aaron Rodgers after 4 plays. The Dolphins were decimated. It was just like a truck ran into their defensive line. So save that. Who's to say that we wouldn't have been, okay. So going into next year, we're all going to be healthy. Let's see what happens. I'm still, RPF the optimist for my Dolphins. And by the way, just the last point of this, has a starting Pro Bowl quarterback ever been more disrespected than Tua? I mean, not in my memory. So just saying, before people go crazy, he still was the NFL leader in passing yards. He was still top 5 in 18 categories. So not for nothing. All right. So that's the Dolphins next year. The Chiefs, by the way, have their own problems.
Oh, yeah.
It's Mahomes. Mahomes is, talk about, if Mahomes wasn't involved, the Chiefs would be a 500 team.
They're struggling a little bit as well, but this was one of the most wild stats I ever heard not in my entire life, but in recent history. The Chiefs are now going to Buffalo next weekend, which is going to be awesome. But the fact that this is Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game in his career, like when they said it,
Super Bowl.
when they said it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I was like, wait,
what?
I was like, what?
They've always had the number 1 seed. Yeah,
it's incredible. I'll say this real quick. So, as a non-Dolphins fan, it was unfortunate because it was clear that you guys had no defense. It was clear, and the fact that, to be honest with you, the fact that the Chiefs only put up 26, whatever it was, against that defense, it speaks to your point that I do think they have issues. I don't think they're going to get past Buffalo. I think Buffalo, it's just a different animal up there right now. Like, it is just, you see them shoveling out the stadium. All the fans are shoveling out the snow in the stadium.
But Buffalo aren't perfect either. They had their moment too in the game that I thought, Steelers, really? And then they got over it.
Then they got over it, But yeah, so it was very unfortunate to see, when the playoffs come around, you want to see all teams, operating at 100%, so you can see great football. And we just didn't see that. With that said, that's their defense. Their offense only managed to put up 7 points, and it was off of I don't want to call it a lucky, Tyreek Hill bomb
It was
because
underthrown.
none of Tyreek Hill's
Underthrown.
none of Tyreek Hill's bomb touchdowns are lucky because he's incredible. But yes, it was an underthrown ball where great. It was a low percentage play.
Mm-hmm.
So their offense, I'm not going to get into the cold weather stuff, but did you see when Mahomes' helmet just fractured? He got hit and his helmet just broke.
That's the best part of the game for me. When his brain exploded. No, I think honestly, the one quick thing, it's confusing for me as someone who watches them so carefully. Why we went away? Our offense has gone away from the crossing routes to Jalen Waddle for 11 yards, crossing, and have Hill deep, Waddle under, and that's been our bread and butter forever, and no one can stop it. So I know we'll stop it ourselves by not calling it. It's so weird. And these are kind of things that I'd like to get more explanation for, and also the fact that we don't include our tight end enough. That's the whole point. With Gesicki gone, which is fine. Smythe is doing his job blocking, but we need other options besides. 3rd and 6 shouldn't be automatic for someone who's 5'9". I'm sorry. Tyreek is great, but he's like the surprise cherry. He's not the whole Sunday, right? We need to have, that's a more balanced approach. And I think they're all falling in love a little bit with each other. The two and McDaniel and Hill Troika for that one, explosion per game. But meanwhile, on 3rd and 6 in the second quarter, it's just as important as that bomb in the third quarter, right? So anyway.
Yep. Very well said. Very well said. All right. So yes, Dolphins defense was famished and Chiefs
not existent. Yeah.
Chiefs win, but didn't look all that impressive in our opinion. All right, moving on is the next big surprise that I had, which was the Packers putting up 48 on the Cowboys and beating them 48-32. It was actually, what was it? It was like 48-16 until real late.
Yeah, in garbage.
It was a blowout. The score is not indicative to what this game was.
At all. The Packers, this game was over by 5 minutes into the second quarter. It was in Dallas.
Yeah.
No, it was 28-0 in the first quarter or something crazy.
I think it was 21-0 in the first quarter, and then 28. Yeah, it escalated fast.
Yeah, it was bad. And it was like wait, where's the love? Is love Mahomes now? Is love CJ Stroud? I mean, what is happening? So we don't have to go into the whole thing with the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys, the only other thing I'll tell you about the Cowboys is, which I'll talk about a little later, but they just announced as we went on, as we were recording this, that Mike McCarthy is staying on as the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. And I've always been kind of a fan of the cliche, the saying that says, the insanity is the definition of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I mean, it's not McCarthy's fault, because it's never any one single fault. But you got to shake up the dynamic. If not, what's the point? I mean, how can you expect something different when the person who's in charge does the same thing every?
Right.
And you can argue with his point of view that they should because they have great talent, but they're not. It's not. Something's not clicking at the end. I hate to be. By the way, if I have to be a Dolphins fan or a Cowboys fan right now, I'd rather be a Dolphins fan because injury was the reason. What's the reason here? I'm trying to figure out.
Right. And especially, is getting back to the McCarthy issue. Why especially in this offseason when you have Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, all these coaches.
I thought Belichick with the Cowboys would be like, no, that's
the worst fit I've ever heard in my life. That's the worst fit.
Because Dak Prescott would be like, what? I'm not running the ball again.
No. It has nothing to do with the players. It has nothing to do it would be Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick needs, and this is what Bill Belichick has always had, Bill Belichick needs an owner that stays out of the limelight and for the most part says, hey, man, you run the team.
Can I tell you something contra I was thinking about? You know who could be, I mean, they haven't talked about it too much, but you know who would be an interesting landing place for him would be the Eagles.
Yes. Yeah, they've mentioned
because
that.
The Eagles need the defense. And also it's close to his family, which is New England, which is, his whole grandkids and everybody are up there. So
I can't picture Bill Belichick in not that he's going there, but in Miami with warm weather.
LA Chargers.
I can he needs a hoodie and a face mask and all the things to be Bill
So
Belichick.
you're saying is the Eagles or the CFL? Saskatchewan, whatever,
Right,
Tigers,
right.
whatever they're called.
Yeah,
But anyway, so yeah, so I think, but by the way, on the other side of the aisle of that, Belichick leaving, and which, by the way, I think the Patriots handled that very classily, very
extremely,
classy,
yeah.
extremely classy. It was heartfelt and it was appropriate. It was all the good things. Jared Mayo, I'm very first
Yep.
impressions, very impressed with him.
Yeah.
Very, very impressed. He seems to be like the right man at the right time and saying the right things. And I don't know. I mean, if he's gonna, like how McDaniel was like that South Beach kooky guy that's gonna be like perfect for our offense in Miami and our personalities. Mayo seems to be fitting. I mean, I don't think a lot of the players will be there a long time with him, but I think he just seems to be like the right guy, right?
Yeah, it's dawning on me right now that we haven't talked about this since because the last time we recorded, Bill Belichick was still a Patriot. So a couple of things to note on here. I'll start with the Gerard Mayo. Is that he to me is basically like Bill Belichick like 3.0, where it's like I think he's got the same foundation of like discipline and accountability and that kind of stuff, but he's got the newer generation hipness to kind of relate better with the players.
Like he'll look at next gen stats as well as being the old
well as do your job.
Right.
So that being said, I think Gerard Mayo was not only a great pick. I think this was a couple years in the making. Because the way it didn't even take 24 hours.
Well, they said it. They said in the Athletic, I think it was, or ESPN. They said that Mayo had written him. He was going to be up for different head coaching jobs, and he wrote it into his contract that if and when Belichick leaves, that he'd be the first. At least he'd be given the opportunity to get the job.
Yeah. So with all that said, let me say my piece on Bill Belichick because obviously he's been my coach for 24 years. Basically, to be honest with you, since my entire fandom, really. It's kind of how I got.
That's the longest relationship you have in your life.
Essentially, the reason I got introduced to football was in college. I didn't really watch it much in high school because I was a hockey guy and I was always, doing my hockey stuff. And then in college, it was a big Sunday activity, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. And that happened to be the year that the Patriots won the Super Bowl. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. But like my point is like that was like Belichick's first year or second year, whatever it was. And so he has been my coach for the entire duration of my fandom. And so when he was gone, naturally you're like, at first you're like, what the? So in conversation when people are like, hey man, how do you feel about Belichick leaving? And the reality of it is this. After he left, and ESPN was doing all their coverage on it and other avenues and outlets as well, and they kept talking, and there's all these flashbacks to the dynasty, the ending of an era, the ending of the dynasty, blah, 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 this and that. It realized to me that this had to happen. There was absolutely no way they could go on with him still there because as long as he's in that building, the team will always be compared to what happened from 2000 through 2018, and it's just not fair. You know what I mean? Like it's And
but even when you said last week that he could possibly stay the coach and have a GM, can you imagine? There's no way. I mean, there's no GM going to walk in there and say, "Hi, hey, Coach Belichick, I think we should draft Steve instead of Mark."
Yeah,
fuck off. No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I think this absolutely had to happen because you had to. I hate to use the word closure because I don't know, it's just a stupid word. But it's
appropriate.
There had to be a clear cut. The end of this era is over, and we're doing something new. Like that's it.
And by the way, for him as well, I think he needs to get.
I agree.
A new environment.
I agree, and that's why I do think this was a mutual agreement. I think they both saw it they were both like, you know what? I think Robert Kraft was probably like, hey, listen, I think you're amazing. I think you're going to go, win a Super Bowl with somebody else. I think you're great. But it's just to what I'm saying. I think this, the dynasty needs to be severed. It's not now. Listen, if they had gone if they had squeaked out like a 9-8 season,
if they were the Steelers this year,
if they're the Steelers, you keep them around because
Yeah.
it's the dynasty's still hanging on and still there.
Right,
But when you go 4 and 13 or 4, 4 and it like
really 4-13, that's rough. Oh.
right.
I mean, we were what 11 and 6, and I was screaming.
Yeah. So,
All right.
as a Patriots fan, Bill, we wish you the best, but it was for the best.
And
Let's
stop
move on.
deflating balls. Okay, go ahead. Just to bring up the whole thing.
Next game, if we're going chronologically, next game was the best one. That
The
was
best
the
one.
Rams-Lions. And thankfully,
and it wasn't a big. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't a big thing from last week. I said, I think we both called it. It's going to be the best game. It's 10 points less on each team than I thought, but it was still really fun to watch.
Very fun to watch. I think the funnest part to watch was all the Detroit fans crying in the stands as the final seconds tick down. I mean, I'm not laughing because I'm making fun of. I'm just like, I'm so happy for them.
Been 30 years.
Yeah, was it 1991? I think was it.
Do you know what's sadder? Now 24 years, Miami is the team with the longest drought of the playoff victories.
Man. Nice job, Lions. That away.
Your mighty Lions
my mighty Lions will proceed on. I don't know. Do you have a whole lot to talk about in this game other than it was a really nail biter, 24-23? I mean, it was just all around. It was just a team battle on both sides. I don't think anyone really stood out.
Weirdly, like a little bit. It felt like the playoff game. Almost like Dan Campbell was a little scared to be full on turbo-sized Dan Campbell, craziness, because it's at home, the playoff drought, the whole thing. I mean, he couldn't.
Yeah, I agree.
I think in his mind, he couldn't do something to be blamed for the Lions not winning a playoff game. So he was like, follow the ball, do everything, run the clock out. Yeah, but I think look, that's next. Yeah, so that's going to be in the Rams. By the way, Puka Nacua looks like. I mean, if C.J. Stroud and Puka Nacua are the future of football, we're in good hands.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Puka. I'm looking at Puka's numbers right now: 9 receptions,
Crazy.
181 yards, and a touchdown
in a losing effort. Wow,
in a losing effort. Yeah.
So it's a really, really good game. And of course, our Brett girl, Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence, is no longer has the best hair in football. Now it's Puka Nacua.
Do you think? You just mentioned Dan Campbell coaching with some hesitation. Do you think with this
just an awareness that he didn't want to?
Yeah, I agree with you. Do you think with this win? Do you think they go on? Do you think basically? So they're going on to play the Bucs. Thankfully, I mean the best thing that happened for the Lions was the Cowboys losing because they were taking on the winner.
Oh my God! It was like the double. It's like, yeah. I mean the Bucs. By the way, we joked about we'll talk about the Bucs in a minute, but we talked about how Baker Mayfield, how the Niner Nation are so scared. Ooh, not Baker Mayfield. But now coming to Detroit. I mean they're both like effed up enough teams that could have a weird type of tight game, but I don't see a universe where the Lions lose that game either at home.
I don't think so. And I do think, to what I was saying just a second ago, I do think that their win. So now Dan Campbell has gone, whew, all right, we got our playoff win, and it's just pressure's off a little bit. Like obviously you still want to win, but
4th and 17, let's go for it. Yeah, that's gonna be. Yeah.
All right, the Monday games, we had the Bills beating the Steelers 31-17. You mentioned it earlier. It looked kind of close for a second, and then the Bills said,
"What was weird? Like the end of the first half, the Steelers kind of like had this opportunity to drive, and they just didn't. They just kind of just I don't know if you remember that. It was like a minute and a half left, and they were on the 30 something, and they're like, "Let's run the ball 4 times." I was like, "What?" It was like, dude, you're playing the Bills. Anytime you have the ball, you better be do a Hail Mary at least. Anyway, it was just a weird, and I knew then that they weren't playing to win. They were playing to not be embarrassed. And
no surprises there. And then the last game, to put a bow on the super wild card weekend, we had the Eagles taking on the Bucs.
The Eagles were favored by 4 points.
which was we did think was going to be a close game because both teams aren't that great. But it actually turned out that
I said no one would be surprised if the Eagles won 42-0 or the Bucks won 9-6. It was the inverse. The Bucks won 32-9. 32-9.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Baker Mayfield looked like Wyatt Tittle.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. When he's going good, man. He's got his swag and his he keeps it.
His agent. You know who enjoyed this game the most? His agent, because he was like off-season deals. For like nation. For like Jiffy Lube and whatever else he can get.
Let me see what he did. I want to see his actual stats.
He had 300. Quick. He had like a perfect passer rating or something crazy. He had like 300 plus yards and like
337, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah,
120 rating.
Oh well, okay. That's for him. That's perfect. That's the highest he's gotten probably ever since high school. So anyway, so it's interesting. Look, the fact that the Bucks, that the Packers are going to the Niners and the Bucks at Lions.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any universe that the Bills, Ravens, Lions, Niners don't become the championship games?
Yes.
You think Houston's the wild card here, right? Is the X factor, the Texans?
I think so, yeah.
If the Texans beat the Ravens, they'll go to Buffalo. Oh my God! Wow, that's going to be two gunslingers there.
Yeah. So yeah, all right. So let's get into next weekend. This coming weekend, I should say. We got Saturday. First one out of the gate is the Ravens Texans. Okay, and
could be the best game.
It could be the best game. I got to be honest with you. The Texans are showing me reasons not to doubt them. Like and with that in the same breath, what we mentioned earlier, the Ravens have only won one playoff game in their entire Lamar Jackson experience.
Okay, so how about if CJ gets a little bit, he just realizes that the moment's really big.
I don't think he will.
Right? I don't think so either.
I don't think he will. I think they're
both. What's the line on Baltimore-Houston game? It's like 4 points or less?
9.5.
I'll take that bet.
Absolutely. I think both quarterback and coach are operating with this rookie, naiveness where I experienced something similar and I think a lot of people do when you first get called up, when I first got called up to the big leagues, and it's like, I think a lot of people have success when they first get there because you're like, it's like, there's nothing. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is amazing. This is so much fun. As you get older,
you have more to lose, and then you get more.
And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh shit, I'm pitching against Derek Jeter. You're like, oh. But when you're first there,
he might be pretty good. Yeah.
When you're first going through it, none of those thoughts even cross your mind. So, I honestly at this point, after their performance this past weekend, I feel like that's how they're playing. They're just like they have no idea what's going on. And they're just like, oh. And they're like,
that's why the biggest cliche is true. Ignorance is bliss, and it's almost
absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm definitely taking the line. I might even take the Texans straight up. I
think really the Texans find. I mean, in my dream, they win with a field goal going away by 2 points or something. That'd be amazing.
Yep. Next game.
Fuck it. Yeah, the Texans. I'll take the Texans straight up.
All right. Let's do it. Next game, Packers 49ers. Does Love's hot streak end here? I
mean, the Packers offensive line, so this is a question for any team playing the Niners. If they can control Bosa, they can have the second, they can avoid the first and second down sacks and pressures. And I mean, if they can get away from third down and long, I think they have a real chance. I mean, again, this is a team who's sitting out for the third week. Their starters and everything. They're a little bit more disciplined. They're more eager. They're more talented than the other teams.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the spread on this one?
9.5.
Again. See, this one I could probably buy. I'll still take the points in the Packers. I think they lose by a touchdown.
Yeah.
The Packers lose by a touchdown. I think
Yeah,
McCaffrey and Samuel, it's just too much. But I do think I think they're going to keep it competitive. Love has found his energy again. He found his passion. I mean, by the way, I don't have to remind you that I called the Packers as my sleeper team.
Yeah,
And
I called. Hang on, I called the Bucks. I got the
you
Bucks.
did?
I got the Bucks running.
The Bucks are still. Well, listen, I shouldn't laugh because the Bucks put up 32 points
Yeah.
against the Eagles. You know, so
I
that
know.
was crazy.
Now I'm torn because I've got my Mighty Lions going against my sleeper pick Bucks.
First of all, you should be torn because it's like you have to be for your Mighty Lions. Look, we want to see Dan Campbell go further. You know, it's
absolutely. All right. Well, that brings us up to the next one. Bucks. Real quick. Sorry, I don't see the Packers going past the 49ers. I just can't. After talking up the 49ers all year as the best team, as the team to beat, I can't all of a sudden just show up at this game and go, oh wait, I changed my mind.
I don't think it'll be as easy as all that, but yes.
I don't think it'll be easy, but I can't just change my mind because the Packers blew out the Cowboys. The Cowboys are dysfunctional, as we all know. Next game, Sunday. The first game on Sunday is Bucks Lions. After their performance against the Eagles, I do think this is going to be closer than I thought it was going to be, but I do think the Lions will pull this off.
I don't think so. Just even 2 weeks ago when they had to win and they beat the Panthers like 6-0 or something ridiculous. I mean, it's just like it's embarrassing. So I think that's the Lions that show up. I mean, that's the Bucks that show up. I think the Lions, win by 20.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. We got, like we mentioned a minute ago, Dan Campbell and the Lions are now playing without that pressure of getting their first playoff win. So I think a lot of the burden has been lifted and they're ready to rock and roll.
He'll do a fake punt, a reverse. He'll do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, he'll open up the playbook. And then the last game,
I think that dome will be rocking for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last game, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but in my opinion, clearly the game of the week. We've got Patrick Mahomes going on the road for the first time in his playoff career, up to Buffalo. This is a game. Listen, they both finished 11-6, and they're both teams that they win, but they also lose, and you're like, and you're just.
But they don't. The Chiefs don't. Chiefs have never lost with Mahomes in January. Put it a different way. Except Super Bowls.
Well, no, they've lost a championship game.
To whom? To the Bengals.
They haven't been to every Super Bowl. I feel like they haven't been to every Super Bowl. I thought they lost the Bengals.
You know how sad we can't even remember what other AFC team had been to Super Bowl. I mean, I think back in the day, the Steelers in the 70s went to the Super Bowl. Mean Joe Green was like the big player. Anyway, the point is that the Chiefs. I don't think what's the spread here with the Bills.
This one's 2.5.
2.5. Yeah. Well, of course, yeah. But that's going to be a fun game. I mean,
I got Buffalo winning this one.
I do too, just because of talent and the whole thing. But Mahomes' magic, man, the little fairy dust with Kelsey, he does sometimes.
I honestly think that Bills Mafia, all right, Bills Nation is literally going to will this win into existence. They have been chomping at the bit. They've been saying for the past 5 years,
13 seconds. Yeah.
Please bring the Chiefs to us. Just give us one time. Bring the Chiefs to us in the playoffs.
But I'll tell you this.
And let them feel what we have to, like, let them feel our energy, let them feel, and I think
I don't know. The Mahomes little fairy dust magic combined with the recklessness, there's no other word for it, that Josh Allen shows at times in critical, red zone situations could just be the tipping point here.
But Mahomes doesn't have any fairy dust anymore. And I shouldn't say anymore, this year.
Well, I think I'm going to do something bold. I'm gonna say this game goes to overtime.
I'm going to say the Bills win. Bills are going to beat the spread.
Oh, by 2.5, by field goal. Okay. Daring.
Well.
Okay. I'm laughing because it's like, wow, risk taker.
Not overtime. They're going to win it.
Okay. All right. I mean, look.
Mahomes doesn't have any fairy dust anymore. He's got Like he can run around and do all the stuff he wants.
Roll the tape. Roll the tape. When Mahomes runs for 200 yards himself, and he runs for.
He's not going to do that.
All
But
right.
he can extend the play all he wants. No one catches the ball. I'm saying it's not
We'll
his
see.
fault.
I think
It's
look,
not
I'm not
his
that
fault.
invested in it. Both the teams we have to beat next year for the Dolphins, so I'm not that concerned about it. But I think it'd be more interesting to me to see kind of Mahomes back. I just hate Buffalo so much, to be honest. I just don't want Buffalo anywhere near the Super Bowl. But just so obnoxious, the Bills Mafia. I know you're closer to that part of the world up there, so you're probably a little like a softer spot in your heart for them. But what's the word for me? No, they can go fuck off.
Yeah, all right. Well, there you have it. There you have it, Bills Mafia. Richard Perez Feria is his name.
Yeah, my home number is 518. Listen, let's get off football. I think football we've covered it. I want to give you a 1 second, 1 minute NBA little stat. Which I was
going to say 1 second might be a little short.
Two LeBron James little items. One is, his son, Bronny James, is already kind of like being heavily recruited by the Miami Heat with dad's enthusiastic endorsements, which is very interesting. To the point where Pat Riley has gone to see him twice play. He's like that type of thing. It's going to be Bronny James coming to Miami Heat, which is very interesting, possibly. So the other thing about LeBron James, which was kind of like if you think about this calmly, again, I've been kind of fascinated since that we talked about that 96 or 97 of the 100 telecasts are football related, most watched telecasts. LeBron James in his career has played against 35% of all NBA players ever. I'll say it again. LeBron James has played against 35% of every single player who's ever played in the NBA. What? I don't think any player in any sport can claim such a ridiculous number. What?
That's funny.
Right? And not only that, not only played against, at the LeBron level playing, which is crazy. Anyway, I thought that was fascinating. Yeah.
That's a funny stat. I like that.
Are you ready for my now classic third installment of the Aaron Rodgers Asshole of the Week Award?
All right, what do we got? All right, hang on. RPFs. Aaron Rodgers Asshole of the Week Award.
Right. Right. We should have our own segment, our own Aaron, the little face of the Manifesto Cabin, and the Aaron Rodgers Asshole of the Week Award. Okay, this week's clear winner is not even a person. It's a network. ESPN.
Ooh.
ESPN for submitting fake names to the Academy of Television, receiving the Emmy Awards, removing the fake names, re-engraving names of on-air talent who weren't up for the award, and having to now, since it's been exposed, they have to return all of the Emmys, up to 60 Emmys. And ESPN has done this for 3 decades.
Yeah.
3 decades.
I saw this and I was like, why?
16 different top executives have signed off on this Ponzi scheme / Bernie Madoff of television Emmy scandal.
Yeah.
They've since apologized. You think?
That's nice.
Sorry for beheading your entire village. What? What type of bullshit is this? It's not one mistake. It's not one rogue person. It's not someone grabbing, pinching a butt in the hallway. This is systemic.
Yeah.
This is fucked up.
I saw this, and is this? And I couldn't understand. Is this a grab so that they can clout themselves, or is this?
You and I have sports, of course. We're the on-air talent. Joe Smith, our producer, is up for the job for the best podcast. Since you and I can also win the award for best podcast co-host, the rules for the Emmys are if the on-air talent can also be nominated for their own work, they can't be part of the overall Emmy win. That's only a production win, right? So then they submit Joe Smith as the winner, as a nominee for Best Podcast, and then we win the Best Podcast Emmy. They take off Joe Smith's name and put Jonah Bayless on it.
No, I know, but so is it a grab for more accolades, or is it a grab to sort of
keep on-air talent happy?
It's an ego thing.
Ego thing. Oh my God! Have you seen the anchors on ESPN for 3 decades? I mean, these white dudes that need reassurance.
But why? If they understand that they can't win,
they don't understand. No one follows the Emmy rules. What the hell do they know? And here's the only saving grace is that apparently none of the on-air talent, being brilliant as they are, had any idea that this was happening on their behalf. They had no idea. It was all ESPN saying, "Look what we do for you. We got you. You win the Emmy when you're with us in our show." It's an inside baseball stuff. It's kind of too technical, but it's shocking in its systemicness of it. It's like it's this kind of evil intent for 3 decades over many administrations there.
What's really interesting?
Crazy.
And this would be something to look into. I'm not going to, but this would be something to look into. Is no, a little ways back. I wanted. It was during the football season. I can't recall if it was a month or 2 months or whatever, but it was maybe even November. Who knows? I was watching First Take, and Stephen A. went off on this little tangent. I'm pretty sure went off on this little tangent about how their show has never won an Emmy. And I wonder if that sparked someone to go oh my gosh, that show's never won an Emmy? No way. And started diving into, what shows have won an Emmy? So I wonder if inadvertently he caused this whole thing.
It wouldn't be the first time, right? It wouldn't be the first time. Stephen A. has a lot to say about lots of things. And maybe if you took the volume down a notch, it would be helpful to the Emmy listeners, not to be blood spewing from their earlobes when they're
Interesting, yeah.
I don't care. Stephen Smith, I don't care. It's like, okay, fine. All right. So that's my Aaron Rodgers award winner this week. Ironically, award winner.
I see what you did there.
I want you to submit my cat's names for the Emmy for the Best Podcast.
Is this an open ballot? Can you do write-ins?
Lots of write-ins. By the way, I went to dinner this week with we went to dinner with our friends, and one of the guys' name is Jack Rico, and Jack is he's a television guy. He's on air a lot on the Today Show and different shows, talking about movies and pop culture in general. He has a great podcast himself, and he lives up, from Manhattan. He lives up about an hour and a half north. For him and his wife have a gorgeous home up there, and he was telling me how he listens to our podcast. It's always exactly the same amount of time. I mean, the perfect time for him to get from Manhattan to his home. As he pulls in the driveway, we're saying, "That's it, folks," for the next week. And he said he just still can't believe, after knowing me, I don't know, 20 years, that I know sports. He still, in his mind, I've always been with him. I'm always pop culture guy, right? Because he knows movies, and we talk about pop culture constantly. And so he never even, and he's a big sports fan also, which somehow we never connected on that. We always talked about, oh my God, Tom Cruise's new movie or whatever. But never about I don't know, everything else that we love. Anyway, but he was saying at dinner how he's still, half the time he's laughing at what we're saying to each other, but the other half is just astounded that I'm talking sports instead of Taylor Swift, which, by the way, he says that's when I get happier, when you land on Swift Nation and you get, okay, that's more Poppy's ballywick there. Anyway, it was kind of funny. But my point is that he's another listener we didn't know we had, just completely reliant on our wisdom and humor to get him home. Yes. Yeah. He said the trips go by.
So many are.
The trip is really quick for him because he just listens to the podcast and then he's home. So it's kind of great.
Perfect. Well, I should piggybacking off of being in a car and listening. I should inform you that I have to drive my daughter Jovi. I have to drive Jovi up and down to the interstate for indoor soccer practices twice a week, and then also on game days. So usually 3 times a week. And they're usually about a 20-minute to half-hour drives each way. And she is officially a Swiftie. And so when we get in the car, it's when she's headed to practice. I want to get her in the right mindset, so I give her the phone. I hook up the Bluetooth. I give her the phone. I say, hey,
Which era?
do you think?
Swifty,
Well, so it's been. I got to be honest. It's been really fun. So it's been really fun to listen to her sort of develop her own musical, taste, and opinions and whatnot. And so, like for example, just last night we were coming back going to and back from practice, and she said, "Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll play you my favorite song off of each album." And I'm like, "Okay, great, let's do it."
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to go on that road trip with you guys.
So my point being is I've had some massive exposure to Taylor Swift. Enjoying it. I'll admit I'm enjoying it. And
I think you might like the Reputation era, which is kind of like
so excuse me, Richard. So far, that's my favorite one.
I told you, I knew it. That's very much like, it's like the rockiest, darkest, and edgiest one. Yeah.
Yep.
I think you might enjoy that. Let me give you, as always, let's finish off with a flourish of tennis, if you don't mind.
Okay.
As many of you guys know, we're right in the first week of the first Grand Slam of the season down in Melbourne, Australia, and it's always fun to watch because you have to be. The morning matches in Australia begin at 10 p.m. or something in the East Coast. by the time like the third match is on, I'm like, oh, I guess I pulled another all-nighter, watching like Bula Bula Ova beat Ula Ula Dova, Anyway, these are my actual names of players that have performed in the past.
Got it.
So, but as tennis world, as I mentioned, 2024 should be the most epic year ever in tennis, and it's proving. Even the first 3 or 4 days already have been proven to be just, eye-popping, mind-blowing, incredible tennis and headlines. So I'll just give you like one-word stuff. Djokovic in 2 matches is as villainous as ever. Truly, like the fans are like booing him openly. People are in the stands saying, are threatening him to beat him up, And he's like, and Djokovic in the middle of a match. This is tennis. This is like the sports of gentlemen and lawn tennis and and blue blazers and stuff. He's saying, "Come down here and tell me to my face." That's up, and everyone's booing him. Djokovic, he's just a hot mess. Of course, as I told you, he gets hurt every match, and he's like, all of a sudden, it's a miracle. He wins 8 games in a row. Anyway, so he's doing Djokovic things, which is just annoying AF, and complaining about it. Okay, Alcaraz looking fire, total fire. He's the hero. He's the antithesis of Djokovic. He's the second seed to Djokovic's top seed. He has an awesome kit, as they call it in Australia, which is the Nike. Yeah, it's sleeveless. In the first, he's been training for 2 months. His guns are popping, and he's like this young, and his haircut is fresh. It's a new haircut. He's looking good. The women are swooning when he takes off his shirt to go for the interviews. He's doing he hit 2 shots around the net post that went in. People are screaming, shut up, Alcaraz. How can you do that? Incredible. Anyway, he's doing Alcaraz things, really fun, smiling the whole time. Could not be more the antithesis to the Darth Vader Djokovic, energy. His only fan, Djokovic's biggest fan and his only ally is Nick Kyrgios. You know what Papa Ball of joy he is.
I know enough about tennis to know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they want to play tennis doubles together, which is absolutely perfect. That would
be pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, it'd be like they should wear black hoods or something, and fight with lightsabers. Oh no, that's the good guys, right? For you people.
No, they
all have it, right? Okay.
They all have them. Yep.
You people meaning like you Star Wars fans.
It's very interesting.
White people from the burbs, Keep an eye out for this young American named Ben Shelton. Ben Shelton is this lefty, like big guy, like 6'4", like Travis Kelce type of built. Okay. And he has a serve that just goes crazy. Djokovic and him are having beef. They had beef at the U.S. Open last year.
Fun. Okay.
Because when Ben Shelton won a match right before he played Djokovic, and he was in the fifth set. He has this thing that he goes, "Hello," and he hangs up. After the match, it's kind of a cute thing. So Djokovic did it to another opponent after he demolished him in 3 sets. It was like 6-2 in the third, and he went, and the whole crowd booed him. And he was like, "Shut up!" It was like, "Who are you, Djokovic?" That's not only co-opting, because he claimed that Ben Shelton's little move is disrespectful, so he wanted to show him up. Shut up. Anyway, Djokovic and Shelton are in a collision course to meet in the quarterfinals, or in the fourth round. So that's going to be in about 4 days. So before our next podcast.
Fun. Okay.
So keep an eye out for Ben. This American kid. He's shot up the rankings. He was like number 180. He's now number 20 in 6 months.
That's
so
a big
he
jump.
is the real deal. Nobody wants to play him. He's really fun to watch. He's like this curly-haired, big American, like a linebacker, tight end who plays tennis. It's amazing. Anyway,
Cool.
Ben Shelton. Coco Gauff, on the women's side, the American Coco Gauff, who won the U.S. Open last year. She's top 4 in the world now. She's maybe number 3 now, or number 4. Number 3 seed just lost in its epic 22-20 last set tiebreaker. The longest tiebreaker and longest match in women's tennis history at the Grand Slams. 22-20. She just lost a few minutes ago. So Coco Gauff she's keeping all the distractions away. All these seeds are losing everywhere. She's not even caring. She's killing it. The past 2 matches, she's been focused like never before. I predict Coco Gauff in the finals. Then the last thing I want to say is we're watching, of course, for the Australian Open is on ESPN, the main coverage, and then Tennis Channel does other coverage, but ESPN's main women's commentator is Chrissy Everett, the icon, the legend from American tennis. And she's been going through a bout of cancer last year during the Australian Open, so she couldn't join. And she was cancer-free after a very, very tough bout of chemotherapy and radiation. And she was a commentator during the U.S. Open in the summer, but now her cancer came back a few months ago, and she's in the middle again of treatment and everything else. I just want to send her. She was my first celebrity interview I've ever did. I was all of 17 years old, and I was commissioned to do for Miami Spice magazine.
Ooh.
I know it sounds much. Yeah, it sounds like something you'd be reading under, like in the dark of night. But no, it was not that. It was like a lifestyle magazine, and they asked me can you talk to Chris Everett? I'm like, oh, her dad used to be my coach. Maybe I can. Anyway, so she granted me an interview, becoming my first professional interview. She was so gracious and so sweet, and she was so complimentary of me and encouraging. And anyway, I just want to send her all the good wishes and positivity that we can muster her way.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it for me.
All right. Well, that is all the time we have this week for the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you had a good time. We know we did. You can listen to us everywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Podbean, all the great platforms, as well as find us socially on Instagram and X, and of course, our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms, type in Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF, and we will pop right up for your listening pleasure. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, DM, comment. That's it.
That's
RPF,
it.
my friend, we will see you after the next round. So if this was Super Wild Card Weekend, is this Super Divisional Weekend?
It's maybe like, Divisional Weekend.
All right, we'll see you later.
All right, bye.